Hello, everyone. It is Wednesday, August 11th, and I'm back with another trade journal walkthrough. I want to start with another thank you again. All of the love on Twitter was awesome, and all of the new followers and views here on YouTube is, also great. So thank you all so much. Really appreciate the support. And yeah, let's go ahead and dive in with the overview of the trades I took today. So starting off with XLF, I will say I got a question on one of the videos from the past 2 days around how I do stops. So I'll talk through that a bit today. So as you know, if you've watched my previous videos, I use this opening range breakout indicator, this orb indicator, which is what you see here. So I have it set to take the high and the low value that the stock trades at in the first 30 minutes of the day. And then it plots that, and then it plots two targets to the upside and two targets to the downside. So typically, with the trading groups I'm in, if people are calling out different tickers, I'll go ahead and put an alert for myself right at the top of the orb on both the upside and downside. Sometimes only on one side, just depending on what I'm hearing. So this is a sector ETF. So in this case, saw that the sector was trending up, so only put the alert on the upside. So when I got that alert, I entered. And so this is, a bit of a mix of the strat and orb. Typically, I like to, look for an actual strat reversal or continuation in combination with the orb. But with like XLF and XLE, I find them to be pretty successful with the orb strategy. So I will negate, entering on a strat signal, but will make sure to exit on a strat signal. So in this case, I entered right here on the 5 minute, and then I had 3 different exits with this trade. So I'll talk through those. So the first exit, after I enter a trade, I will look at like the 3 and the 1 to get, a bit more precise. And if you watch my videos before, I do that a bit, though I've, struggled and debated continuing that practice. But in this case, I did. So the first exit, I took a 16% gain. And the strike price, by the way, I did not say was 39, and it was a weekly. So 39 strike, expiring on Friday, August 13th. So in this case, after I entered, it's all 2 ups from here. And remember, I entered on the 5, so this thing gets a little warped and moves when I switch down to lower time frames. So I did not enter on this inside one, but it was on the 5 minute, breaking across here, breaking across the top of the orb. So what I do in this scenario is I move my stop up to the bottom of the 2 up. If I'm going long, on a call, I will just continue to move my stop up. And in this case, I don't, actually put in the order at that time. I'm mainly just putting in my alert because the way that I trade, I day trade, and I'm a freelancer, so I do have kind of time to just look at my trades. And for the most part, again, if you've watched my videos, you'll see I'm typically out before noon. So in this case, I really am just watching these like a hawk. But in this case, I move my stop up, move my stop up, move my stop up. So on this 3, I exited 10% of my position, and the reason for that is because I did see I would have exited, more if I didn't see this kind of reversing and going back to the upside. So in this case, it hit my stop here. So that is my sign to, take some profit regardless. And then I do wait until the candle completely forms to determine, if I'm going to sell more or not. So this could have been, potentially a 100% exit at like 16. Maybe it would have ranged between like 12 and 16% if I didn't get it, all. Because I'm sure, given the fact that I put the order in when I saw it hit this, if it came back up, immediately, that would be to my benefit. I didn't actually look and see, what price it it filled at versus what I, put as my limit. But overall, got a 16% gain on the exit off of the 3-minute stop for that first exit at 10% of my position. So next, I exited off of the 5-minute. And that's going to be this line here. So in this case, I sometimes, I'll use the bottom of the 3 for putting, trailing. I'm not sure if that's actually called a trailing stop, but I think it is because it's moving as the trade goes on. It's not static in one place. So I will put it on the bottom of the 3, or I'll put it on the bottom of the candle of the 5. So for the 3, I mean, it really does vary. Like sometimes I'll do the actual bottom of the wick or the bottom of the candle. But in this case, I did the bottom of the wick on the 3 and was kind of comfortable that I was, decently in profit. So when that happens, I'll move up to a higher time frame and kind of set a stop that is not as tight. Well, I guess in this case, that would be tighter than if I, put it on the wick. So the one candle, went down and crossed over the stop that I had at the bottom of this 2-up body of the candle. And at that point, I sold. I didn't say for how much of my position, so I don't recall the percentage, unfortunately, but it was higher than 10% and less than 50, so of whatever I had left. That's why I don't really calculate it after, because I'd have to do more math than I'm interested in doing to remove that initial 10%. And yeah, so anyway, I sold at 25%, 27% gain for this second exit here. And then finally, I exited off of the 5 minutes. Let's see, for the third gain. Here. So I didn't put a thing here to show me, but ultimately this is where I'm, not fully following my rules to maximize my profit, because I do like to wait until a candle fully forms. Because if I would have seen that this was a green 2-down hammer, I wouldn't have sold the rest of my position here. So I sold for a third time off of the 5-minute candle at 16%. And that's because it did a 2-1-2 reversal to the downside. And I sold it, around where my first stop would have been. So around here, I saw it go 2 down. It was still red, and I sold around here. So that was a 16% gain. So across the entire trade, I don't know what that averages out to, but I sold at 16, 27, and 16% gain for this one. So not too bad, but definitely a good reminder to myself to wait until the candle stops forming for whatever time frame I'm using it on. So I actually do want to go look at this though. So on the 3-minute, yeah, likely what I did, I didn't, because when I'm kind of, I won't say scrambling, but when I'm working to get a contract filled to sell, whether that's in profit or to minimize losses, I kind of forget to come back to the chart and look at it here. So I'm guessing I was on the 3-minute at that point. I said 5, but I'm guessing I was also toggling between the 3 because that's what I was doing a lot today, and saw this 2 down. Again, this is hammer-like as well. So if I was, kind of being more calm and disciplined, would have waited for this to cross over and, could have had more maximum profit up here. Probably would have ultimately exited here. Let's see, actually. Yeah, I mean, this was a big fall. So I don't know. That's not the worst. I might have gotten myself out here. So I don't like to, when a trade has gone well and it's, in green and gain, analyze too far, because now that I'm seeing it, that's a pretty large fall from the top. So I might have, exited even further down for less profit. So not mad at this trade. And yeah, let's move on now to DraftKings. So first, since DraftKings was on my list, let me go and just review that. So I was looking to enter off of the 4-hour here, enter off of the daily here, and then, target essentially the daily would have been the target for the 4-hour, and then this is the target, or yeah, this daily entry is the target for the 4-hour, and this is the target for the daily here, which is, a rep strat, bearish rep strat. So in this case, I missed the 4-hour entry, just being in, other trades. I'm typically not in more than one or two options contracts at once, because I'm also looking for like entries on stocked swing trades during this time. And I like to, like watch my options contracts like a hawk, like I said. So in this case, I just missed this, and ultimately entered, let's see, ultimately entered here, because I gave myself, I saw that it wasn't triggering. It was, bouncing off of this 4-hour trigger, so I kind of gave up on that and just set myself an alert for the orb, bottom of the orb strategy if it broke out there, because, I was able to see that that was at least in between earlier than what my actual trigger for the daily would have been. And in this case, so, back to how I use orb, how I use strat. If I was using the strat plus orb, explicitly, which in this case I did, not for that other trade, I wouldn't just wait for this alert. That would just be my signal, okay, like, go ahead and watch it now. So I started watching it here, and when it ultimately went across my daily trigger is when I entered. That was on a really, strong drop here on the 5-minute. So in that case, my fill wasn't great. Could have been a little more patient with that. But yeah, so I entered here and ultimately, just had my eyes on this trade completely the time after. So it went, 2 down green. So that's not, a great sign on the immediate candle, after the flip of when you entered. And then ultimately it went 2 up. So typically I would just exit this completely, but because it was still below the daily entry, I went down to a lower time frame to get like, some more specific information on what this was looking like. So in this case, I went down to the 1 minute. That's why I put this flag here so I could see that. And so the 3 represents, that big 2 up that we saw. So a combination of that 2 down green and the 2 up that we saw. Pretty much just the 2 up that we saw on the higher time frame is what this 3 is on the 1 minute. So I came down to the 1 minute and I'm like, okay, I'm going to watch this. If it goes 2 up, I'm going to exit. And I got ready to, put in a sell order for my positions and my contracts in this case. And ultimately it did, fail. I guess it didn't fail completely as a 2 up. That would mean it went 3, but it went 2 up red. So I kept watching it on the 1 minute, and if in strat terms, this looks like a setup for a 3-2-2 bearish reversal. So I felt comfortable holding it still, but I did stay on the 1 minute just because, that was a pretty strong move. I didn't get a great fill. And yeah, so I continued watching it. Got a bit more comfortable after it reached first target of the orb strategy. So again, it plots actually, let's just go to a higher time frame. Oops. Okay. Nope. So again, it plots the opening range, first 30 minutes. You can actually set this indicator to, plot the first hour, but I use the first 30. And so yeah, I went back to looking at the 5 minute after I got a little more comfortable, after it crossed over that target again. So that was around this candle. So looking at the 2 down, it went 2 up. But again, watching it live, seeing it didn't have too much strength and ultimately ended up red. Then we got a big drop and another big drop. And I just got out here. So again, if you've watched my videos before, you know that I will either, I look to exit at pretty much 10% profit, 15% profit, 25% profit, and on my target. So if it's been like a shaky trade where, it hasn't been clear direction, meaning just straight 2 ups or 2 downs, depending if I'm doing, calls or puts, I will just exit at one of those profit levels. The other thing I will do, if it's feeling a bit shaky, is just exit at my orb strat targets, or my orb targets. And in this case, we hit the second target here. So I didn't get it quite down here, but I got it within this candle. And it looks like my little note went away. But I'm pretty sure this was like a 28% gain across both contracts. I got the 51 and the 50. I wasn't able to fully do my experiment because the idea was to buy the 51 when it crossed over the 4-hour, and then buy the 50 when it crossed over the daily, and see how those gains played out. So that full experiment I was referencing yesterday didn't really happen, but it was about a 28% gain across those two. So that was it for today. Exhausted 35% of my port, which I, trade across options and like day swinging stocks. I am in some swings, I guess day trading stocks, or entering swing positions. So I'm in a swing with Sophie, as well as Neo. So I'm going to hang on to both of those. Neo wasn't doing too hot the last time I looked. Sophie, I was still in profit on. So yeah, thank you all for watching. I will be back later this evening with a setup video for tomorrow's trading day. And yeah, feel free to like and subscribe and ask any questions that you have. Have a good day.